Mute.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to Do Good Work Podcast, hosted by Terrell Strayhorn and Jaquin Johnson. We specialize in taking a deep dive into issues that truly matter. Each episode unpacks the challenges and opportunities facing today's leaders, from classrooms to boardrooms, offering insights that inspire real change. By redefining success, we're changing lives, empowering people everywhere to create environments where everyone feels a sense of belonging, whether at home, work, or school. So hey, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we explore the issues shaping our futures, one meaningful conversation at a time. Let's go!
Welcome back to the show. So glad to have you all back here. Welcome to Do Good Work Podcast. I'm your co-host, Terrell Strayhorn, joined by
Jaquin Johnson.
And as you can see, Jaquin is out at the mall shopping.
I wish I was at the mall. I'm at the freaking airport.
And so we got a great show for you. And y'all know how we do it. Kick it off first by helping us spread the word on social media. Hopefully you're tuning in from one of the platforms, LinkedIn. If you're in the house, drop it in the chat. Let us know you're here, where you're tuning in from. Those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, YouTube's in the house. Let us know you're here. Type it in the comments in the chat. We're going to try to, we promised this the last time, we would try to tune in across all of these platforms. And so tell someone we're on, the show has started. Like and repost, if you don't mind, on your favorite platform. And we will share it on the screen if you want. If not, we'll just say hello to you. But happy Saturday to everyone. Hopefully you are having a great day. And a few more things here. I don't know what to do except throw a bunch of hashtags in here. Is it the Miss World contest? Miss World? Do you know?
I don't know anything about that.
It's coming up. It's trending. So if y'all know, if it's Miss World, let us know. Put it in the chat. And if it's already passed and somebody won, tell us who it is so we can shout them out. But clearly, we did not keep up this year with that. All right. That's gone. Thank you for tuning in and looking forward to a really exciting episode. If you've been keeping up with our social media, you know that tonight's the night where we will hear from the 65th mayor of Memphis, the one, the only. I asked him, I said, do they call you the honorable? And he said, yeah, they do. Sometimes they do call him the honorable. So we're going to call him the honorable Paul Young. But before we go there and get too far, Jaquin's going to do what he does. He thinks because he's in the airport, he ain't got to have duties. But since you're in the airport, he's going to walk us through our normal game. Well, first of all, how you doing over there?
Horrible. So I can't wait to play this game so I can let folks know how I really feel. So, as every show, using the first letter of your last name, describe your week or day. I'm Johnson, so last name's J. You're Strayhorn, so you're S, and you can go first.
S. I would say today my S word has to do with the fact that I feel very I'll go with solid. Solid is my word. Solid because I think that it's been a busy week. been a lot of places, seen a lot of things, done a lot of things. But despite the pace of the week, um, I'm not tired. I'm not exhausted. I'm not stressed. I'm not silly. So I'm feeling very kind of like, I don't want to say stable because I need that another week, but strong. Um, you know, I'm present and sort of in the moment. So yeah, that's my word. Oh, you must have found a good one.
I
What's
love
up?
it. No, no, no. I think Mama Linda said self confidence. So put that on the screen.
Oh,
And Mama Linda, you need to go back and watch the last episode because we wore blazers. So go back and watch that one. I think we recorded that yesterday.
we did.
And okay, so you said, wait, what was your word again?
Strong.
Strong. Okay. No, you
No,
said
what did I say?
solid.
Solid.
See,
Solid.
you don't even know what you said. Come on now. And you was gonna try to get on me for not paying attention.
Solid
Get
as
out
a
of here.
rock. That's what I think. Solid.
For me, I would have to go with, I say I describe my day. My week was pretty good. I was in San Diego for an entire week, and I was able to explore the city, but also get some solid work done. But today is a travel day, and I've realized over the past few months that I hate being in the airport. My days in the airport are usually long. Um, I typically leave early and return home at, let's say, no later, around 11 o'clock, and then I have a 2 hour drive home. So I'm not getting home until 1 o'clock. So I already knew when I woke up this morning I was annoyed because I'm going to be in the airport all day, and now I'm doing the podcast in the airport. Oh, my word. What is my word? My word is Jesus. The whole Listen, there's too many moving parts going on right now. Um, Jesus. Yeah, that's my word because I've been saying that often today. So that's what I'll go with. Jesus.
Jesus
Help
is a
me.
good word. Okay.
Jesus be a fence.
That's a good word. You call him, he'll change it. But all right. So um, I think we have several things we might want to do. First, if you're tuning in and haven't already shared, please type in the chat, share what your word is, thinking about the first letter of your last name. Y'all know how we do this. This is a podcast where we really try to tackle issues that hopefully people care about. We're learning lots and lots of things. Um, Mentioned to Jaquin, we heard from a college president who said that they listen to the podcast. So thank you for those who tune in. And interestingly, folks who are sharing the podcast, even in their staff meetings. And so it becomes something for people to react to. And today's episode, we think, is going to be another one. We're glad to be with you. If you're on different platforms, social media, please like and share, tag someone, tell someone to tune in, especially for today's show. Now, before we dive in, we definitely want to check in with all of you all. So we got a couple of people who have typed in the chat, but if you are on LinkedIn, we actually are paying attention today. We apologize that sometimes we don't see LinkedIn. For some reason, this platform will bring in YouTube, it'll bring in Facebook, but it does not bring in YouTube. LinkedIn. But we got LinkedIn. LinkedIn, if you're in the house, drop something in the chat, say hello, tell us what your word is. And also, y'all know we started a couple of episodes ago talking about this whole, new day and age that we're living in and around work problems. And so we had promised that we would have a segment in the show where we really talk about work related issues and give some tips there. So I'm going to ask if we can do that, and then we'll segue into our main event. All right. So I know we talked about this a little bit this week, Jaquin, and that is, if people are not aware, there are still people out there losing their jobs because of new political perspectives and um, sometimes executive orders. Sometimes now it's more state laws that are trying to align with those executive orders, which are getting rid of people's jobs. And then let's just be honest. Sometimes it's because organizations post pandemic are realizing they don't have the money and the resources to keep people to keep their company the same size. And so there are layoffs and furloughs and downsizing and right sizing, all of these terms. I guess the one thing that we have given some thought to is when you're going about the business of like trying to figure out, is it time for me to leave before the termination, before the separation? This is putting the agency back with the person. What advice would you have? What ideas come to mind? Like how do you make a decision about like this is just either not a good fit, or I've sort of tried to do what I can, but the organization, the job, the role is no longer satisfying me, and it's time for me to either start looking, or we have many Americans today who resign their job with no immediate plan in mind. Thoughts, advice?
Yeah. So one thing I would offer is if you feel like the job is giving you, it's just something in you is telling you that it's over. Believe it.
Yeah.
Believe it. Right. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to and you can you know um, exhaust all your efforts to you know uh, make it right.
Hmm.
But even through all that, if you're still feeling like no one's paying attention, the other party's not trying, or the team is not trying, or you're just never on the same page, it's time to go. It's time to go, because at some point, I do believe that um, employers will create the conditions to push you out.
Yeah. I mean, you started it off, whether you know it or not, with the right word, right? You said, as you were sort of looking around, if you feel, well, we know something about a feeling, right? Sense of belonging is a feeling. And the moment you start feeling like you don't matter, you feel like you are unappreciated, you feel like they're going to make a move, you feel like, I've certainly talked to people who feel like they've hired their replacement, they feel like their supervisor is, um, you know, has plans of removing them or moving them. I think you're right. You should, you can vet it and check it and think through it, talk to your trusted colleagues and friends about it. But, sometimes it's better to just sort of go with your gut, start thinking about, okay, so what's my next? What's my next gonna look like? Do I have something in mind? Do I even need something? Because sometimes you can be with, sometimes we do need these, what do they call it? Intermissions, where we're not doing another thing yet. We're just sort of regrouping. And so I think one, if you are in that kind of situation where you're feeling like, things have changed, the feeling has changed, Jacob, you're right. You don't feel valued, don't feel respected. Here's another thing to start paying attention to. I certainly have seen this in some of the coaching work we do. The moment you are not invited to meetings that you would typically be invited to, and it's matched with this feeling of things are just a little off, I'm feeling a little undervalued and appreciated. I'm not saying jump ship. I'm saying that's probably a good time to start thinking about a plan. That's one. Okay, so as you're doing that, though, this is the part I want to talk about for a second. Um, what advice do we have for people? So I know one thing I would say is, it's very tempting. I have proteges who will say things like, "Oh, I'm over it. I feel like they're going to make a move on me. I'm done with this place." And I was like, "Okay, so what are you doing about it?" They're like, "Oh, I'm at work right now looking for jobs." No, 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 no. You don't. I would not advise that you look for jobs while you're at work, and certainly not while using their devices. That as best you can. My advice is that you're not. Um, having your Zoom video or your phone interviews at work if you can help it. Like I have a colleague who had a moment like this, thought it was time to depart, started their search outside of work hours, but then had an interview during the daytime. So what they decided to do was just be honest with the people, let them know, like, hey, I'm currently working, but I am exploring new options. And they took the interview in their car, or maybe they found a spot at a coffee shop where they could go and get that done. I know everyone can't just pick up from work and go, so I want to honor that. But by the same token, I think what happens, because I've now been on the other side where I'm sitting at the table with those who hire, who will say things like, did you see that they were at work? Did you see that they were at work in their office? So just imagine if we bring them here, what they're going to be doing. Or, it's just interesting, right? These are things that we don't often think about. So one, what are your thoughts about that, reactions to, or any other things that come to mind as you think about, okay, so if I make the decision that it is time for me to part, what from your experience and from our work can we offer to folks to help them have a successful launch?
That's a good you know suggestion to the audience, because it one, that's bold. If you are looking for jobs while you're at work, these people have access to your computer, laptops, phone device, any device that they issued you, they have access to. So yeah, I would not recommend that. Something that off the dome that I would offer is, I look at a lot of resumes, and most of them, they treat their resume like a job description catalog, right? They just share or list their duties and responsibilities. But I already know what a project manager does, or an accountant does, right? What we don't know as employers who are looking through these resumes is how you specifically made a difference at that said company. So, I think we need to be more specific when we draft, craft, build our resume. So instead of saying, manage social media accounts for the company, right? Try grew Instagram by 150%, leading to 12 new customers. Responsible for customer service, let's say resolved 95% of customer complaints on first try, earning employee of the month twice. I think the magic formula when you're writing your resume is action plus specific results plus impact. So after each bullet point, ask yourself, so what? And if you can't answer with a concrete outcome, then you need to rewrite the. If y'all hear that, I apologize. You need to rewrite the bullet, even if the numbers are not huge, right? They don't have to be extravagant or mind blowing. But I do believe specificity beats um, vagueness every single time. So again, when you're building your resume, think about action plus specific results plus impact.
Yeah. Um, so I like that because results, and we'll come to this, results and outcomes are what people care about. Um, yep, Jacob has some advice about keeping your resume up to date, and with AI, that's a lot easier. A cover letter that's specific to every job listing. You want a set of references of people who, one, you can trust will give you good references, and two, who know that you've asked for them to give you a reference.
Let's talk about that though. References, my friend, right?
Yeah.
Just because you think you buddy buddy in the street, don't mean they willing to vouch for you when that employer calls.
True.
Now then you sit here look like boo boo the fool.
Well, here's the other thing, and I've had this happen, and I do as best I possibly can. I mean, the good news about it is, I feel efficacious. I feel confident using words and putting them together in a way that will say something substantive. But I'm always surprised when people put me down as a reference, don't tell me that they did it, and also don't tell me about the job. So then someone calls and says, "Hey, I won't use you because you haven't done that, but hey, would you give a reference for Thomas?" And I'm like, "Sure." Yeah, he has you down as a reference, and he said you were his advisor. He's applied for, oh, here's my favorite. He's applied for a program director job. Okay, where? Doing what? Program director is a very general kind of job. But given my experience and knowledge, it's like if I can't say, sometimes even nowadays, I'll be like, this is really great. I mean, I have full confidence in the person. Could you tell me a little bit about what you're looking for that person to do? But if I don't have that kind of time, or they send it to me and they need it quickly, then I'll say, I'll speak to what I know directors have to do. So at a director's level, there's probably some supervisory experience. There's probably some budget matters and other kinds of things you have to attend to, and I'll speak to that. But it's just my advice, following on what you just shared, is if you're going to put someone down for a reference, let them know. Yeah. All right. So results driven, um, outcomes driven, segue into exactly why we're here for this evening, to hear from, in part, the interview with the one, the only Mayor Paul Young. We good? You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Looking like you over there nervous, looking at something, making the faces.
No, I'm looking at Twitter, trying to pay attention to it.
Oh, thank you. I got LinkedIn. All right. So hopefully you can see this. Um, it is and was a pleasure to have the opportunity to interview and speak with Mayor Paul Young, who was sworn in as the mayor of the city of Memphis on January 1st, 2024, with a commitment to creating a stronger, safer, and thriving community for all Memphians. He's a Memphian at heart, father of two, husband of Dr. Jamila Smith Young, and the son of pastors Diane Young and the late Bishop William Young. And the mayor earned a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from the University of Tennessee, go Vols, a Master of Science in Urban and Regional Planning, a Master's of Business Administration, MBA from the University of Memphis. He spent the last decade really improving the quality of life for Memphis by advancing housing security. He's going to talk about it, and fostering healthy neighborhoods where families can thrive. As the former president of the Downtown Memphis Commission and the director of housing and community development for the city of Memphis, Young applied a holistic approach to unifying the city through public and private partnerships and targeted investments in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be wild and wowed by the one, the only 65th mayor of Memphis, the Honorable Paul Young. So I'm going to play a couple of these clips and then we'll talk about them, Jaquin.
Hold on, friend. Where'd you get that picture from? Did you take that?
No. Like it?
It's amazing.
I know, right? I wish I had taken it. Oh, I should show you some pictures though. He and I took a picture. Anyway, we'll get to that. But in talking with him, we covered so much ground, from the city of Memphis, Memphis in May, which is what we wanted to talk about, and then his sort of daily schedule. But let's first talk about, or hear from him about, the city of Memphis.
Man, Memphis is just a special, special town. It's one of those places where when you experienced this when you moved here, you start having conversations with people and you forget that you just met them 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's like we immediately make you a part of our family.
Yeah.
It just resonates with people when they actually get boots on the ground and you get to interact. And there's a tenacity that exists within Memphis, but there's also a kindness and a generosity that you feel when you engage with people. You talked about the music and the culture. Those are things that are, I always tell people, I can't always put my words together to explain what it feels like here, but it's a feeling that I think when you experience it, I just want to bottle it up and push all around the world because it's something that's special. And you feel it in the food and the interactions, the places you go.
All right. Okay, you over there smiling. What you smiling at?
I mean, he's right. I think I've been to Memphis, I want to say once, if I'm not mistaken. And that was when you and Tanita hosted the Black Brothers Brunch. And that was like, what, 2 years ago? Was that 2020?
Yeah. He was there too.
Okay. But, during that experience, I just met a few folks that was at the event, and I did immediately feel like a part of the family, right? We were at the Foray Grill, and they were just so warm and welcoming, and through their food, made me feel important. They paid attention to what I wanted to eat and how I wanted it made, and the interactions with the leaders in that area with locals who came to support the event and young black men. It was absolutely amazing. So I agree. Regardless if you meet them, for the first 3 seconds, or you've known them for 30 years, you feel that immediately. Which is why I want to go back to Memphis. And I was upset that I was out of town this past week and could not be there for that interview. But I agree. What he shared is, I mean, he said he can't put it into words, but he put it into words for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about I'm actually going to see if I can find that picture that we took when we went to the Black Brothers brunch. But, basically the team, I don't know why you keep saying just me and Tanita, you were there too. But we hosted, because of the shameful killing of Tyree Nichols, we hosted a Black Brothers brunch to bring together the city to talk about the importance of young men, and certainly young men of color. And the mayor was actually there. He was not the mayor at the time, but he came, he spoke. It was just really wonderful to have that kind of presence and support. So I think when he's talking about the city of Memphis, he said, you experienced this when you were here, and he's so true. When I moved to Memphis back in 2018 and lived there for 2 years. At first I felt like an outsider because a lot of people in Memphis, they ask questions like, where'd you grow up? What high school did you go to? Here's another good one. What church do you go to? Or what church do you grow up in? And, I'm from Virginia, so my church is not in Memphis. And so as an outsider, I felt like I couldn't get in. But because I was vice president at Lemoyne Owen College, the HBCU of Memphis, I could quickly make connections, and so many African Americans have their degrees from Lemoyne, that you immediately just have a network of people you can support and be with. And so I think we're going to come to this in another clip, but listen, as I told him, the reason why I know we were excited about having him on the show and having the interview really is because, drop in the chat, all y'all who are listening, what do you know about Memphis, Tennessee? Most people are going to tell you. Okay, go ahead and type it before I say it. Okay, I'll say one, then you say one. Elvis.
Martin Luther King.
And the killing of Martin Luther King.
Yep.
Barbecue.
Penny Hardaway.
Maybe music, blues, something in that space. You got another one?
I don't think I do.
No, I was gonna say, like, that's what people know about Memphis, but there's so much more to Memphis. Let's see what people put. Oh yeah, Graceland. Oh wait, sorry, I clicked the wrong one. Let it go. Your advice goes up there twice, Jacob. Thank you for that. When that's done, we also know Graceland. Yep. Here's the point. When people think of Memphis, they should also think of Stax Museum. They should think of the zoo. I mean, you just named it. They should think of Four-Way Grill, very famous African-American owned restaurant where Martin Luther King did eat, many others too. But anyway, talking to the mayor, I was like, there's so much more to the city than what people might, immediately think of. And so to have the opportunity to have him and talk about some of this was really important. Of course, he's going to spend some time talking about Memphis in May. Let's listen.
Memphis in May is a time where we have a celebration every year that's usually highlighted with a music festival, barbecue events, and oftentimes the playoffs. This year, I think we may have had 1 or 2 games in the playoffs, but unfortunately, we didn't make it out of the first round this year. But better luck next year. We got a great team. But this year was great. We had incredible River Beat Festival at Tom Lee Park. Our acts like Ludacris, Congdon, Anderson .Paak, Missy Elliott. There was a ton of great artists that were there, and Had an amazing time on the river for that. We had two barbecue festivals, one called Smoke Slam on the riverfront, and then the traditional Memphis and May Barbecue Festival, which took place at Liberty Park.
What you know about that?
I don't know nothing about that though. That's the problem, right? I was sitting here thinking. I know people say that Memphis barbecue is pretty good, but um, I was going to ask, have you had it? But I know you probably haven't. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have not. I'm probably when I no, because I became vegan in Memphis. But I mean, people talk about it being very good. I mean, it's sort of like kind of what they're known for. Now it's a different kind of barbecue. I'm a little out of my lane a bit now these days, but like North Carolina has a barbecue that's very vinegary, so it's stringy kind of barbecue, and it's more vinegar based than that thick red barbecue sauce kind of stuff. The thick barbecue, like mesquite, is that the way you say that? Flavor that a lot of people go for that's more ketchupy. That's a Texas barbecue. And that's much more like a Memphis barbecue. Although Memphis's barbecue to me, from what I remember, is it's that thicker kind of sauce, but it's also a browner sauce. So it's got a lot more heat. And when I say heat, I don't mean hot. It's like a fullness to it, if that makes sense. You might say, listen,
Did
if
you?
you like
Did you? Wait.
barbecue,
First of all, stop all that. Did you study that before you came on this show?
no.
Talking
I'm just
about you
saying
may be
places I've
outside
been.
your lane, and then
Listen,
listen.
places
I'm
I've
not talking
been.
about. I'm not talking about barbecue.
What do you say?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Places I've been, I just paid attention to. Everybody talks about barbecue. People love barbecue.
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that topic because I'm not gonna lose my card today. So, um, I'm
Listen,
going to.
if you like barbecue and you're listening to the show, put it in the chat if you know how to explain it to us. To me, that's how I would describe it. North Carolina barbecue is not like Texas barbecue. Is not like Tennessee barbecue. You're from. Y'all don't have barbecue in
I don't eat barbecue like that. I'm a chicken and fries and burger guy.
I forgot where you from. Gallatin. Y'all don't have barbecue?
No. Oh. Oh my lantern. Okay.
We're gonna keep it moving. All right, wait. So I just played Memphis in May. Right. Oh, here's the other thing. So, but does Gallatin or I guess here's the point. I think it's cool that they have Memphis in May, a month where the city celebrates itself. And in the places I've lived and moved and been, that is kind of unique. Would you say?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there are many places that have like these festivals. Um, I think what they probably have like downtown.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it's
Yeah,
downtown.
and it was a. You said it's a full month.
Full month.
It's one. No, see, it's usually like what, a couple of days, maybe a week, but a full month is pretty cool.
But in
That's
celebrating
that
the
that is.
city.
Hmm.
Like I love places
So
that
what else do they have other than food and music?
I mean, they have food, they have music, they have gatherings, they have, um, what are those things called? Like performances, art. And when I say perform, well, art. They also have dance. Um, there are like there's a park that he talked about where they had like a big community picnic. So it's just like a lot of convening. But the thing that makes it interesting to me, I'm gonna show this, um, is that at the center is a pride about the city. And I like cities that are proud of themselves and people who live in places. Because you go to places, listen, I don't know about you. When I go places, people always say like I was just in other than Memphis, I was just in where I'm not going to name the city, maybe that's rude. Whatever. You go someplace to like Chicago. You meet someone and say, "Are you from Chicago?" They say yes. You say, "Born and raised?" They say yes. And you say like, "What do you think of the city?" "Oh, I'm ready to go. I'm tired of Chicago. It's cold." It's what most people have a very antagonistic and negative attitude toward their city. I think it's amazing when I meet someone who's like, "I'm from Chicago and I love Chicago." Or "I live in Chicago. I'm not from here, but I really love living in the city." And the idea of like pride in your city is pretty cool. And the fact that the mayor, sort of encourages that.
What I like the most about it is like it's bringing the community together, and finding ways to connect. And I think oftentimes we do a really good job of identifying the differences and talking about those things. But through this Memphis in May for a full month, there is one thing that there are multiple things we have in common, but we're here for. There's one thing I know we have in common for sure, is that we're at this event. If most of us live in Memphis, and we take pride in it. We have some type of connection to Memphis, which is why we're there. So, what I like about it the most is that it's bringing people together to celebrate the city. And, like you said, like it literally signifies pride
Yeah.
in their neighborhood.
Yeah. So, the reason why I mentioned this is because the mayor was saying like this is what he's trying to do is, you know, help build a city, strengthen a city where people will want to come to Memphis. They will be proud of its history, its legacy, but also its present and its future. And it's a future focused kind of city that is investing in community, it's investing in what the people need. All of that is so important. And so as I was telling him, I was like, you're speaking my language because this is about belonging. And I told him, I was like, belonging is a feeling. People go to cities because they want to belong, they want to fit in, they want to connect with people. And so he talked about how, he's moving and with his political colleagues, they're making decisions and driving policies to invest in Memphis's public spaces and parks and libraries. Why? Not just because these are important kind of public utilities and services, because this is how people connect. People connect in the park. So let me just show this real quick. So this is one of them. I love these things when people have the city in big letters and everybody wants to go and take a selfie. Can you see that? Is it showing? And then I did
Yeah.
this little clip here. So you can see like this is one of the parks in downtown. It's actually minutes away from where I used to live. It's called Mud Island, where they have those big words in the park. You can see the cities behind it. It's a city on the move. Look at this construction work that's going on. And lots of people go there to hang out, to picnic, but also to take pictures behind the words of their city. Yeah. All right. So he's a mayor. He's was once the director of housing. He's a Memphian. He tells a story about how he grew up in Memphis and his parents are pastors and his parents' church was like a major hub, or maybe still is a major hub of the community. So one of the questions that we asked was, all right, for everybody who wants to know what's a day in the life of the mayor, what's the day in the life of a mayor? Let's listen in. So, what is the day in life of a mayor like? What do you do? A typical day.
Yeah, a typical day is really busy. There are a lot of decisions because one of the things that people don't really fully appreciate when you're the mayor of a city is that you are running a major corporation.
Wow.
A corporation with an $880 million budget, with 6,000 employees, another 1,000 or 2,000 part-time employees. And there are decisions that need to be made relative to the budget, the ongoing operations, the staff and leadership team, and making sure that you are investing time into them. And so there's a lot of those meetings on a daily basis. There's meeting with stakeholders, constituents that may have ideas on how to improve the community, carving out enough time to be able to filter through those ideas and get them to the right people to help advance their ideas or help them make the ideas mature even more such that it's ready for prime time.
Mm. What do you think? So, busy day.
He makes a valid point. I think that sharing that it's a major corporation, it's about to be a wave of people, so it's going to get loud. A major corporation, as a mayor, you depending on the size of your city, your budget is smaller or larger than others, but it's difficult to be. I mean, I can imagine the difficulty of being a mayor because of the people that you're overseeing, right? The people that you are serving. This is not like the company you built from the ground up. This is something that has history, and your decision making plays a valuable role in where the city goes in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So you really can't be, well, you should not be self-serving in that position,
Right.
right? Because you are literally serving the people in that area to make sure that they can live a high quality life, that they can buy groceries, that they can have affordable housing, that they can have all their basic needs met, so they can, you know, go out in the world and spend money in the economy in your city for it to grow, so you can put money back into the city, so you can do more for the, you know, it's a lot of things you got to really be thinking about in order to do those things for, you know, you and your people that you serve.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. How many times have maybe people have, but I thought it was pretty provocative that he described his role as a mayor as running a major corporation, a kind of Fortune 500 company, where there are lots of different parts. I mean, his office is a whole entire episode unto itself. But he's got people in his office. He's got a director of communications, a director of policy. He's got someone who's out there doing public-private partnerships. He's got a budget person, several budget people. And, you know, as the mayor, not only are you thinking about the city, not only are you acting as an elected official, but you're also supervising people who are on your team as you lay out a plan for the city, an agenda, and then help move it forward. And I just thought that, for people, students, people, anyone who aspires to public office, whether it's being a council person, being a city mayor, um, or a governor, part of it is about business. So it's no surprise. I mean, it's probably very beneficial that he has a master's in business administration, because so much of what he's doing is organizational management, as it were. The organization in this case being the city. So then let's go to, you said something about him having to embrace difficulty, or like, making decisions for the city, even that may not be the most popular. Did get a chance to talk to him about that. So let's listen to him talking about embracing challenges.
There's a quote that I heard that has always stuck with me, and it says that a wise man can entertain the ideas of others without accepting them. Say it again. A wise man
for everybody in the back.
can entertain the ideas of others
Yeah.
without accepting them.
Yeah.
That means that me and you can have a conversation,
Right.
even if we disagree. I can entertain your ideas. I can talk about them and try and understand your perspective. It doesn't mean that I have to agree, but by us exchanging those ideas, it helps me mature my ideas and my approach to things, having a better understanding of what others think and believe. And that's something that I really try to live by.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then the other thing I've learned is over the course of time that, our podcast audience is comprised of lots of different groups, including parents.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you just said you lost your dad. I lost my dad in February of this month. So, I mean, I love the opening quote, the idea that a wise man can entertain the opinions of anyone, even without agreeing with that perspective. And as a elected official, he goes on to talk about, the number of times that he's made a decision or he's been invited into a decision that, was not the most popular for everyone. You certainly always have people who support your ideas and support certain directions that you're going, but feeling this idea of like, you know, there are some people who you will meet with whom you will fundamentally disagree. But like, growing up, adults, my mom, dad, grandma would always say, you can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that's this idea of, I should be able to entertain your opinion, hear you, not cut you off, be haughty and hot tempered. Even if at the end of all of that, I say, with all due respect, I do not agree. But, and then we find our way forward. And he was talking about how often he has to do that as a mayor in order to just sort of, you know, like you said, serve the people that he is, um, you know, for whom he works.
Yeah, I really like the quote. And kind of what I hear is that although you may not agree with someone's opinion or a proposal that was submitted to you, um, but you are willing to enter into that space and listen to their idea further. And with that, you have the opportunity for you to really engage in a meaningful conversation and ask questions, right? To get to the root of whatever they're talking about. And then at the end of it, listen, if you don't agree, you don't agree. But I do believe it is important for people in leadership and in other roles to at least listen to people's thoughts, ideas, perspectives, because at the end of the day, you know, we are only stronger when we have diverse opinions. So I like it. But the thing is like this: you've been in leadership positions. Let's kind of talk about, at some point, let's say he said a full week is very busy, he has to make a lot of decisions, right? Let's say that week is full of opinions you don't agree with. How do you navigate? How would you navigate that space as a leader?
I mean, I think the wisdom that well, there are two things I'm picking up. One, the wisdom he offered, you know, I think if I'm not mistaken, he even went further. Again, the full episode, the full interview will be placed on our YouTube channel. So if you want to listen to the nonstop interview, we encourage you to go there. Um, but I think this is the point where he said something like, um, you know, as a leader, you really have to become a student of other people, right? So let's say I'm really trying to. I think I know the example. One example he gave is like he's made a conscious decision, he and his administration, to invest in public spaces. Why? Because if I move to Memphis and you move to Memphis and we're to get to know each other, or we join a church and the church wants to connect with the community, we typically just don't go out in the middle of traffic and stand on the highway. We host events where? In the park, in the community rec center, um, you know, the YMCA, the libraries, the what's that? Civic Center, the theater, the Performing Arts Center. All of these become really important spaces for connection. And so and we typically go to those places where we feel safe, secure, all our basic needs are met. Well, if you have a dilapidated theater or old raggedy library, people don't use it. So as he's and his administration are consciously investing in these public spaces, of course there are people who think, well, no, I think that money would be better built, building a new highway or building a new school. I'm not saying they're not building highways and schools. I'm just saying, um, to your point, sometimes you have to make decisions that will run contrary to what people want. And I think my advice is, one, when people have opposing views or dissenting views, picking up what I think he put down, be a hardworking student of it. Ask questions. I found as a leader, I will often ask people like, hello, this sounds like our coaching sessions, right? Like, that's an interesting perspective. Tell me more about that. That's interesting. Why would you say that? That's interesting. How did you come to decide that? In fact, I just had that today. Let's see how I can get across this story kind of briefly. Um, Someone made the assumption that, when I say someone, it's just I'm protecting the innocent, but like someone said to me, I don't think you wanted to, reach out to me or something. And I was like, hmm, how did you come to decide that? They said, well, because you didn't reach out to me. Okay. So the only thing you can really say is that I did not reach out to you. But you can't say I didn't want to reach out to you. I just probably something got in the way of it. Well, no, I just don't think you even wanted to reach out. Well, I mean, you're that's a lot of, what'd you say, friend? Shooting on a person, right? SHOULD. shoulding on a person. You shouldn't do that. Create a space where you say, hey, I wanted to hear from you yesterday. I did not hear from you yesterday. Tell me what happened. Man, I was really looking forward to hearing from you yesterday, but I didn't get to hear from you. Everything okay? And that means I get to say, oh, I was going to call you, but I was in the airport and my flight was canceled. And before you know it, I'm trying to get to a hotel so I can get out, those kind of things. I think that um, in my leadership, I often will ask people, try to help them unpack when they say like, well, you're doing this and I totally disagree. I'm like, okay, so what do you think I should do? Or what do you wish I had done differently? Interesting. How did you come to that decision? Wow. So help me understand why you think that one's better than this one. What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? What evidence do you have access to that maybe I don't have access to? I mean, you can ask a series of questions that help you really get because what I'd like to do is if I can empathize and like get into their mind to understand how they feel and are thinking about a situation, sometimes it might awaken me to the fact that, maybe this is a different perspective I hadn't thought about. Maybe I should do something different. But quite often, it just allows me to empathize and explain more like, okay, here's why I'm not going that direction because of this. So questions, hearing them out, creating a space where they can be honest and transparent, but then also communicating even more clearly why I'm double downing on the decision I made. That's what my advice would be. What about you?
I think the first thing that I have to ask myself is, do I care enough to have a conversation with you? Because honestly, listen, if I don't care, well, we just said it today. When I was in the airport, we were reading the blog that we hopefully post soon. Is like, we wrestled with fate. Can you fake feelings, right? Can you force feelings? Can feelings be fabricated? I my face is going to tell you I don't care. I don't care. My words are going to signal to you that I'm not interested, right? So I have to ask myself. With the last impromptu podcast we did, Do Good Friday podcast, right? Yesterday, I don't know my days right now, but it's like, I have to be honest with myself. Do I care? That's the first question I have to ask. Okay, and then once I say or answer yes, then I can enter into that conversation and be empathetic, right? And ask questions that could get us to why you think the way you think, and why you believe your plan is better than the plan that we have created. But also too, maybe I'm not adopting your entire thoughts or ideas, but maybe through a conversation I can pick the ones that would match or complement what we already have.
Yeah. Some sort of compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I like that. I'm gonna put it back on the screen because I kind of talked through it, but Jacob added this quote: disagreement is not the enemy of wisdom. It is often the path to it. Disagreement is not the enemy of wisdom. Rather, disagreement becomes the path to wisdom. That's why, someone asked me this week, how am I with conflict? And I told them, I am not a person who goes out here creating conflict, but I am not a person who's afraid of conflict. If I want to go right and you want to go left, I will create a collision so we can talk about it. To your point, if I care enough about it, right? So I'll be like, um, I've met people who are like, were dismissive, where when they get upset, they sort of disengage, they get silent treatment, walk away, turn their head, act like they perform mad or frustrated. And once I see that, some people who are afraid of conflict will be like, well, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm not going to say anything. I can tell they're mad. So I'm just go ahead and end this now. Not me. I mean, some days if I'm feeling it, but usually I'll be like, so what? You mad now? Or I'll say, what happened? Let's talk about it. And if the person says, oh, no, I'm fine, I'll be like, no, you're not fine. The way you even responded suggests that you're not fine. So, I mean, if we can talk about it now, cool. What's wrong? What did I do? What did you do? What happened? And he's laughing because we do this all the time, where I think I would say I was raised in a house. My mom is certainly tell me her perspective after the show, but I do not feel like in growing up you weren't stomping up the stairs and slamming the door and sitting in your room mad at the family for 2 days. That wasn't happening. If you were mad and stomped up the stairs, first of all, I don't even know why you'd be stomping up the stairs, but at some point, someone's going to invite you into a conversation. Like, what's wrong? What's happening? Let's talk about this. And I appreciate that because growing up, I have memories of having to have difficult conversations with my siblings, with my mom and dad, um, you know, to say like, I'm mad. Okay, so what you mad about? I'm mad because I wanted ice cream for dinner. Well, we're not having ice cream for dinner. We're gonna have chicken for dinner. And sometimes you're gonna have to eat because that's what's available. These are good lessons to have to push through. But what I realized it did for me, it took the sting out of conflict. It took the sting out of, you know, difficult conversations to where I don't back down from them. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not intimidated by them. I've actually learned how to facilitate them. And I think as a leader, you know, I'll shut up on this one. I feel like there are companies that pay people to do that. Because when you bring people together to work on teams, conflict and issues, it's inevitable. So the person who becomes the manager, the supervisor, the VP, the president, whatever, are people who know how to, one, I think they're people who people want to work for, and they're people who know how to help people work together. I'll stop. What do you think?
I mean, listen, make a point. And listen, yes, you're right that conflict and disagreements are bound to happen in any relationship, partnership, any ship, right? But one thing I want to add to what you're kind of saying, like I do believe your parents did a good job of teaching you how to enter into difficult conversations and be productive in them. But you know, through my experience and through the work that we do, being comfortable with disagreement and talking about issues is a skill. So some people have learned that, okay, listen, I'm upset, you're upset, or I don't agree with you. Let's have a conversation about it, right? And we can, through, um, being strategic and understanding, like before you enter into the conversation, craft your own, like what are your points? Also look on the other side and see like what are their points, and then come together and have a conversation. Okay. There are also others who have had experiences where it's probably they've been conditioned that it's probably best for me just to be quiet,
Mm-hmm.
go away for a couple of hours, and it may be a day, right, or two. Hell, it may be if I gotta stop. It may be 2 months, whatever. But that's their experiences have conditioned them to behave that way.
Yeah.
There are also others that we know who use their fist, or we can go even to you use weapons, right, such as gun violence.
Yeah.
So disagreements and being able to facilitate those conversations without going to the extreme is a skill
Yeah.
that must be learned. But the thing is this, it can be learned, right? So if you don't have it today, doesn't mean that you can't learn it over, if you're 45, 55, 65, 85, you can learn it. If you're 10, you can learn it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really, being intentional of understanding like, okay, you know what? I'm not good at I'm not good at difficult. I was not good at difficult conversations. I'm still learning how to have a difficult conversation because for me, and the way I grew up is at the end of the day, listen, I ain't got to talk to you. Okay. So we can go our separate ways. And then when we both are ready, we can come back and have this conversation. Which is why I was asking when you were talking, because again, we have butted heads,
Yeah.
and but we had to learn each other to understand, when is the right time, and what words do we need? What's the setting? What words are we using to make sure that we can really get down to the root issue?
Yeah. Well, I would say, we've talked about this and reflected on it, but to anybody who's listening to the live, will listen later. Um, I feel very strongly about this. Would love to hear your thoughts. Is I don't know a single person who, I mean, I have friends who I have, I rarely have disagreements with, right? They are few in number. I can't even name them. Not many, right? Most people have disagreements. Most people have a moment where the conversation, the comment, the joke didn't land, the action was misunderstood, the promise was not delivered. I mean, it's just a wider range of things. So my advice is to anyone who's listening, and we always say it this way: any ship, friendship, relationship, boo ship, partnership, companionship, what's all the workership, whatever, any kind of relationship you're building with the person. My advice is this: if you find someone who is willing to get in the ring and talk about it, and doesn't just walk out, walk away, throw the phone across the room and give, then you have found, as my grandma would say when she was alive, but baby, you have found a good friend. That's a good friend. A friend is not a person who you do not have, who you don't butt heads with or you don't have conflict with. I've never experienced it. I think it's my lifelong friends are people who, despite all of that, we communicate, and once we resolve it, boy, if someone looked at us, they'd be like, y'all have got to be best friends. Y'all got to be related, because how do you just stay in sync like that? And you stay in sync, my thought is you stay in sync because you communicate and you listen and you learn. Like, what, I don't even know, how was it, 2 years, 3 years? How long have we known each other? We never can get this right, but
I think it's
whenever,
4.
Jeez Louise, time flies. But when we first started like getting to know each other, I didn't know that, you know, being direct in my mind could be felt as being sassy and rude in your mind. Or like me addressing something up front is the way I might frame it. You might have received it as picking a fight. So we had to talk about it and like listen to each other, talk about what our intentions were, figure out, hey, this doesn't work well for you. This doesn't work well for me. How can we find a happy medium? And then guess what? We do it and things get better. So again, my thing is like, if anybody's looking for, got somebody in your life and you're like, man, we've had some difficult times. If you have difficult times and you talk about it, difficult times, you go to the table and you iron it out, difficult time. Here's the other thing, especially if you see someone or meet someone who you start looking and be like, oh my gosh, they're trying to be better. Boy, Eon Levenzant, come on. That's somebody. That is somebody. That is a good friend. That is a good soul. That is fertile ground. There's endless possibilities there. The people who are red flags you need to run from, delete, block, send out today are the people who don't change. You're always the problem. It's not you, it's me, or it's not me, it's you. If you have people in your life like that, listen, I don't know if you came to do good work to get this kind of advice, but run. Do not pass go. So Rhonda says, do you believe a person in leadership must possess skills in conflict? If not, are they or should they be considered a leader? Yeah. Conflict resolution. Absolutely. I think so. This, like I said, I think people come to work. It's so interesting because, they never say this during the interview. Everybody come to work and say, oh, I love this job. If I get this job, I'm gonna be the best worker ever. You're gonna have no problems out of me. I'm never gonna take any time off. I'll go above and beyond the call of duty. And then they get hired and they take the first 5 weeks off. They start complaining day one and they come to work, and before you know it, the 3 people who at the interview said, oh man, I hope you get this job, I'm just gonna love working with you, don't even talk to each other. It's just human nature. We come together and before you know it, issues are there. Good managers, good supervisors, good leaders are ones who don't get wrapped up in that stuff, but secondly, know how to resolve it. Help people. Like someone asked me this week, recall a time where I did this. I remember at one of my places of employment, leadership role, someone said, oh, these 2 people are at it. And I went over there and guess what? They were at it. They were yelling, screaming, being disrespectful, talking over each other. I said, hey, when you're ready, I want to talk to you all, calm them down. I said, I want to remind you all, we're all on the same team. When I said that, the temperature came down just a little bit. And then I started structuring the conversation so that people understood there's no need, there's no I in team, and we're going to be a team together. We got to make sure that it happens. So I think effective leaders are ones that have work experience. They have a record of success, but they're also people who have skills in conflict resolution. Listen, friends, we are at time, and in a moment, I'm going to play our last song, but I'm going to turn it over to Jaquin. Look, we covered a lot today. What's your sort of closing thoughts? And by the way, don't forget, go to our YouTube channel. I'll put it in the chat while he's talking, and check out the full interview with Mayor Paul Young. Closing thoughts?
Yeah, so I would kind of close where we kind of ended, is that leadership, possessing skills in conflict resolution is very important, because as we shared, is that, conflict in the workplace, or conflict is bound to happen. It's going to happen. And as leaders, you cannot get wrapped up in that, because again, I for example, I was at an institution and I had a conflict with someone, and listen, the leader was like, hands off, figure it out. Well, listen, if we could figure it out by ourselves, you wouldn't be here. So I do believe that, and also too, as a leader, it's your duty to ensure that everyone is safe and secure at work.
Right.
So if you cannot do that, then you don't need to be in a leadership position. Because again, no one comes to work and to be mad, or to be bullied or harassed or criticized day in and day out. No one wants that. So, and the thing is, like, too, as a leader, you have to understand how to address it. Address it appropriately, because at the end of the day, you may be thinking that you are resolving the problem by, airing it out publicly and getting on to someone about what they did, when really you're making the problem worse.
That's right.
So be mindful of your people. That's what we always say: stay close to your people, understand who they are, to appropriately address those things. 2, we talked about, well, I lost it. Anyway, that's what I would say.
No, I mean, that's such a good sort of closing thought, is that, as a leader, your job is not to get involved in it, meaning to be part of the division, but rather to settle those issues. And so, listen, we covered a lot of ground today. We hope that you are walking away with some new, fresh insights and some actionable strategies that you can implement right away. Just remember this: doing good work, leading good work, even loving in good work is not about perfection. Friendship, not about perfection. Leadership, not about perfection. It's about intentionality. It's about growth. It's about creating spaces where every single person can feel seen, heard, valued, and like they belong. And the conversation that we had today is meant to inspire action. Our special shout out to the 65th mayor of Memphis, the Honorable Paul Young. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for your time. Listen, you can follow us on all things social media at Do Good Work. And your engagement means so much to us. You know how we end this. We tell you it's Saturday. It's a good weekend. So if you found something valuable in today's discussion, we hope that you will take a moment to like and follow us. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Do not be afraid to do something. But if you're going to do something good. Do good work. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Do Good Work Podcast. We hope you found today's conversation informative, uplifting, and insightful. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your networks. Follow us on social media at Do Good Work on X, formerly Twitter, for real-time updates, behind-the-scenes content, and so much more. Until next time, friends, don't be afraid to do something, but do something good. Do good work.